Good morning and welcome to First Atlantic Commerce. I miss you guys so much. It's been a minute, but we are here strong and we have quite a conversation to get through. Here on the FAC Live Show, we cover all things e-commerce in the Caribbean, and our guests join us from all over the world and generously share their expertise, knowledge, and insight into the digital world and how we can operate within it. If you join us from LinkedIn, thank you so much. Don't forget to like and follow our page to continue seeing content that will help you grow your online business. As always, I'm joined by the CEO of First Atlantic Commerce, Chris. And we have the privilege of speaking to three individuals in different parts of the world. So it's a lot to take in, but that's okay. Once this live show is ended, you could actually go and replay it. We have Sandra Glasgow. She is the founder and managing director of RevUP Caribbean Limited, and she's co-authored the book Corporate Governance in the Caribbean, which I know a lot of small businesses need to read that book. I'm calling you out. We also have Sean Reel. He is the executive director of the award-winning Ignite Bermuda accelerator and has served as a non-executive director on several businesses and sectors, including smart energy, media, and recycling. And finally, we have Anya Ayoung-Chee. She is the co-founder of Nudge Caribbean and is focused on finding innovative approaches to merging creativity, social consciousness, and technology with an emphasis on women's economic empowerment, which is so important. So we're going to welcome everybody in this morning, and we are literally all over the world. This is pretty awesome. So just a quick check-in as to where everybody is before we jump right into it. Chris, I'll start with you.
Hi, good morning, everybody. Nice to be back. Nice to see you again. So I am here in Bermuda, as always, but I will be in Trinidad next week, so I'm looking forward to that.
So am I. Where are you, Sean?
Greetings to everybody from Bermuda. I brought my picture, whichever side of the... There you go. Just to prove where I am at the moment. I'm from the UK, but I've been blessed by being here for the last 3.5 years. So greetings to everyone around the world.
Awesome. So what about Anya? Where are you right now?
Good morning, everyone. I am in Trinidad. Very much looking forward to meeting you in person, Chris, when you come here. But yes, I am here resident in Trinidad.
Awesome. And finally, let us have Sandra. Are we in and we are hearing you? Where are you right now?
I'm in Kingston, Jamaica, and it's a lovely sunny morning. And good morning, everybody.
Awesome. Great. So check in. Everyone sounds good. Everyone looks amazing. And we want to get into it when it comes to this conversation, because when we think about incubator, I think everybody technically kind of know what it is, because when you're born into this world, you're in the hospital and you are surrounded by this thing that's supposed to make sure that you survive, when you just come out of birth. And the technicality of it goes over my head because I don't have a PhD. But for the purpose of this discussion, we want to talk about it in the business sense. So I want to start with Sandra. What is a business incubator?
So, Pauline, it's really just, as you said, an incubator. It's a program, a facility that supports early stage startup companies, and is really designed to increase, to improve, to expedite their profitability and their success. And so RevUp is a virtual incubator. We started during the pandemic, so that was an opportunity for us. And what we do is provide a range of resources, training, mentorships, international and local mentorships. We have psychometric testing, we have strategic planning, and really all this 5-month program is really designed to get startup founders on the road to successfully attracting equity financing or commercial loans.
Thank you so much for that, Sandra, because I know a lot of businesses, they think, I need to get further, so I need money. And as a business owner myself, I've been in that phase, and I hate to break it to you, business owner, that's probably the last thing you need. So Kim, are you seeing us? I know you said in the comments it's buffering. We have started. So let's have this discussion around the incubator and accelerator, because we're in a space now where everybody is using these trendy words. And to be honest, when you're a business owner, you're just trying to get the job done day to day. So Sean, if you could give us a little insight on the differences between an incubator and an accelerator.
Yeah, I think it's a really interesting definition. Originally, if you go back 10, 15 years ago, there was a clear definition between accelerators and incubators. And if you think about them in terms of time scale and where your business is, very often, if you're a startup and you think, okay, in the next 6 months, I really want to go for it. I want to hit all my targets. I want to grow my market. I want to test my ideas. I want to recruit some people. And you want to go through that testing process really quickly. Then, it's an accelerator program. It's probably best for you. If you're looking at the next 6 months, 12 months, 18 months out, and you're looking at a more broad program of activities, it used to be that the incubator was the place for you to go and work and spend your time with your team, growing your business. It's become a bit mixed and hybrid. So I would say to anyone who's thinking about accelerator versus incubator, actually look at the program. As Sandra was talking about earlier, her program's a virtual program. So some of the programs will ask you for equity investment as part of the cost of doing it. How much time can you allocate from your business to being part of the program? What's the ecosystem around the program? So as Sandra was talking about, do you get mentorship? Does investment come with it? Do you get some office space? Do you get a mentor allocated to you? Do you get help with investment? Is there an investment platform already available? So ask those questions to decide which is best for you and where you are on your journey. We often get businesses that are completely in scale-up mode. They're already turning over 10 million, 20 million, and they're looking to scale their business up. And they come on an accelerated program over 6 months, and they leave with a much better, bigger business with clear vision and strategy for that business. So incubator, accelerator, I would just almost forget that and talk to your local providers and find out what they're offering and what they expect from you. What do you want from me? What do you get back?
Yeah, so we have someone who's trying to get in. Kim, can you just check to see if you are on a mobile phone? If not, and you're still not getting through, you can try YouTube. We'll put it in a comment section. You can check it out. Hopefully you'll catch us there. I don't want you to miss the very informative discussion ahead. So Chris, I know you had a question for Anya.
Really. So, Anya, what role do you think business incubators or accelerators are playing, specifically within the e-commerce landscape within the Caribbean?
Well, I'll first answer that really through the lens of Nudge, which, to give it a little bit of context, we support micro, small, and medium businesses that are primarily in the commodity space. So e-commerce is obviously something that comes up often when we are talking about scaling. And certainly, as it pertains to tech-enabled companies, which is what our demographic is, there's a need to support the bridging from wherever you are in your e-commerce spectrum to really being able to leverage the technology to benefit your goals and milestones. So I think, for instance, some of our entrepreneurs have been sponsored to go through the Tech Beach Accelerator that focuses at times on e-commerce in particular, and it has been incredibly beneficial. Everything from accessing a variety of services from global organizations that can advance their ability to scale through e-commerce to the network of sort of peer-to-peer support that comes through that process. I mean, the litany of support that comes through that specific accelerator as it pertains to e-commerce is fantastic. And for Nudge, we have seen the growth of our entrepreneurs go through accelerators like that. So I think the sky is really the limit, and it really also depends on the aptitude of the entrepreneur to really leverage what is being offered through either an incubator program or an accelerator program. But as it pertains to e-commerce, I think it is especially needed just because that level of tech support, that level of technology understanding is not something that we are exposed to generally in our average schooling system. So it's something you do have to go after, and oftentimes these programs fill that gap for entrepreneurs in this region.
All right, thank you. And just to add on to that as well, and do you see that, given the effect of the pandemic, and the fact that businesses have to go online, are you seeing much more adoption and much more willingness for people to stay in the online world compared to going back to brick and mortar and standing in lines, which is part of all our cultures, it seems?
Absolutely. I mean, I think on every angle, of course, accessibility is part of our issue in this region, but for those who can access retail in this way, it has had a major impact on both the consumer end and on the provider end. So I don't see a return to the level of brick and mortar retail as we had before. I think in-person retail will become much more experiential, as it already is, and complementary to e-commerce retail. So there's 100% because of the pandemic that caused the need more of an adoption based on desire, which I think is really powerful. And it's wonderful for the micro entrepreneurs in particular, because otherwise they don't have a tremendous amount of distribution channels at their fingertips, whereas e-commerce can create this D2C opportunity, especially for export, that didn't really exist before.
Awesome, thank you.
So I want to add to that, and I'm just going to put the question out there. Sean mentioned earlier the differences between the incubator and the accelerator, from an idea versus, hey, take a part of my business and turn this is what I'm going to get. How are folks like you looking at a business who may not have any plans for e-commerce? How important is that e-commerce conversation to even be considered to be part of these programs? Who wants to take it first? Sean?
Yeah, I can go first. We're agnostic as to the type of business, but we found that almost every business has an e-commerce element to it. We used to talk about fintech and e-commerce as if they were different things from business and doing business. What we're finding is now, we've got retailers on Ireland who are delivering goods within 15, 20 minutes using all the technology of tracking and payments and payment gateways, in an environment where that is becoming an expected norm for the consumer. And I think what's happened is that COVID has accelerated that process for most businesses. And the advantage, if you look at some of the work Chris and his team does, is if you can take advantage and build your business on a platform that is in a regulated environment and has an efficiency right from day one to allow you to scale. Because what we often find is people go off and build small MVPs and then they try and scale up from there and they run into trouble. I mean, we've had a couple of businesses on Ireland, really great businesses, great business models, and they try and scale, and then there isn't the capability to do that. So think about the business that you want to be in 3 years' time, and then build your technical platform now for that environment so that you're ready. And I think almost every business, whether it's delivering goods to consumers or booking an appointment and paying for it online with a psychologist or a coach, all of those businesses can use the technology in e-commerce.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. And in fact, that's why we start our training program with a module on going digital. We've actually partnered with MasterCard, with National Commercial Bank, so that, the idea that your business, can only operate in one mode, that's passé now. As we've all said, consumers expect to be able to find goods and services online. So we help our founders to figure out how to undertake this digital transformation. And we even give them the tools. So NCB, for example, which is one of our sponsors, will provide our founders with, credit card, merchant account. They will help them, provide them with a template to build an e-commerce enabled website. So they're getting the tools that they can use right away. And I think that's really important for all businesses to think about. How can I transform what I have into a digital business? Because that's the way of the future.
And I think there's so much to be said about it in the Caribbean, because a lot of times we don't feel supported. So I really am interested to hear some of the considerations and benefits for business owners to explore this part of their business, because a lot of times you're so focused on just getting the job done, you're not realizing there are opportunities and people out there willing to support you. So when we come back after this break, we're going to have a discussion around, well, we did a poll on the First Atlantic Commerce LinkedIn page, and we realized a lot of you who are watching this haven't even considered incubators. So there's much to learn. So we'll be right back. Good morning and welcome back to First Atlantic Commerce. Here on the FAC Live Show, we cover all things e-commerce in the Caribbean. Our guests join us from across the world and generously share their expertise, knowledge, and insight into the digital world and how we operate within it. If you're joining us from YouTube, don't forget to smash that subscribe button and follow our page to continue seeing content that will help you grow your online business. Today, we're talking about what every entrepreneur should know about Caribbean incubators. And if you missed what I said earlier, think about an incubator. It's really a space where to protect us so we can survive. So we're hoping that we can get as much information from our guests today so we can survive in our businesses. As always, I'm joined by Chris. He's the CEO of First Atlantic Commerce. And we have the privilege of speaking with our guest today, Sandra. She's the founder and managing director of RevUP Caribbean. She's actually in Jamaica right now. Sean, he is the executive director of the award-winning Ignite Bermuda. And as the name says, he actually is in Bermuda right now. And Anya, Ayoung-Chee, is the co-founder of Nudge Caribbean, and she's in Trinidad. So let's bring back all our guests today. Omari, I saw your question about the logistics. I'm not too clear on the question as it relates to our subject matter today. So if you can just expand on what you mean by we live on an island, what about logistics? In this discussion, are you speaking about e-commerce? So let us know in the comments, and I will definitely ask the question for you to our panel discussion today. So we would have asked questions leading up to this event, and a lot of you responded to them as it relates to participating in an incubator program. So let's start this question for Sandra. What are the top 3 benefits for a business incubator for Caribbean entrepreneurs?
Well, in our program, there are a host of benefits. We have partnered with a number of international and local organizations. We've partnered with the World Business Angels Investment Forum, which is a global organization of, over 800 members, to deliver an international mentorship program. And, really the value that people get from coming into our incubator is tremendous. It costs us about almost $3,000 US to deliver the program, yet entrepreneurs pay $350. And they get, as I said, we start with psychometric testing so they understand their own behavioral styles and how they need to relate to team members, to investors, to their board, to their employees, to their, members of their team. We have interventions helping them with their high-level strategic planning so they, can articulate their vision for the business and specific targets that they want to achieve in the, when they're done with the incubation program. Then we have a very intensive management training program, which touches on all kinds of topics, including marketing, accounting and finance, tax laws, strategy and scaling, ESG, corporate governance. I mean, all the elements of all the knowledge they need really to grow and scale their business. We end it with an in-person sort of, well, it's hybrid because not everybody attends, but a weekend retreat with McKinsey and Company on the whole topic of how to become a great CEO. And of course, many of them are on this path already, and they just, you know, they're really given an opportunity to interact with successful founders, to understand what are the things they need to focus on to become great CEOs. And we have an investment readiness program. So there are some people in our cohort who are looking for angel financing. And so we have another program added to the training program, which prepares them on, you know, how to pitch, how to do valuation, how to protect their intellectual property, and just understanding the difference between equity financing and commercial lending. And of course, our partnership with the National Commercial Bank allows those who are looking for loans and others, I said, you know, things like credit cards and you know, an e-commerce platform. They can get all of that as part of the program. So there are huge benefits, and we are actually partnering with Caribbean governments and with Caribbean institutions. Anya and I need to talk. We've had a founder from Trinidad in our program. In this cohort, we have one from Barbados, Kim, who has these amazing belts that she sells. So there, I mean, we are a new incubator, but we have a lot of experience under our belts because we were started by First Angels Jamaica, which is really the Caribbean's most successful angel investor network. We have the benefit of all of, you know, 8 years experience in financing startups.
And I think that's Kim in the YouTube comments. Kim, let me know if that's you there that Sandra spoke about. That'll be that's great that you join us today. And you know, a lot of times it may feel overwhelming for a business owner to apply for these things. So I want to start this actual question with Chris, because in the past, I mean, we've beat this discussion to death, but we need to revive it and come again, which is, what are the requirements to set up your e-commerce? And I just want to shift that discussion. You know, you could answer that question first, Chris, and then we could tie that back to Sean, because I feel like when you set up this discussion around e-commerce, it actually helps the incubator startup. So let's start with the e-commerce side of things. What are the requirements? What are the things, the number one thing that a small business owner should have before they start up their e-commerce in the Caribbean?
Yeah, thanks. So one of the most important aspects of it is what we call an e-commerce merchant account, which is a specific bank account that you apply for with your partner bank to be able to have your online transactions settled to. And it is quite a different account to just a personal account or a corporate account or even a POS merchant account. So when you're talking to your bank, you know, you do need to specifically ask for an e-commerce merchant account. And without that, there's really no way for you to accept payments online. So it's a really critical aspect to that. And then one of the other parts of that is obviously a payment gateway like ourselves, which, you know, from, you know, the Caribbean and Bermuda perspective, you know, we're very well connected there. We work with, you know, all three banks here in Bermuda that do e-commerce payments. and then pretty much every bank within the English-speaking Caribbean that are also certified for e-commerce as well. So that's a really important aspect of it. And while you're looking at that, then when you're looking at your platform, your online platform, or your payment button, or whichever method you're going to use electronically to charge a credit card, it's got to be able to connect to a gateway and a payment gateway and a bank that is operating within your region. So again, big problems with that we've seen in the past is where people have gone off and signed up for a shopping cart platform or a payment button platform that's not connected within their country, and they've spent a lot of time and money and energy doing that, and then when it comes to actually getting paid, they realize that the only option they have is in the US, which is obviously not ideal. So the e-commerce merchant account, the payment gateway, and make sure whichever online platform you're using is able to connect to the gateway and the bank that you're choosing to work with within your particular country.
And that's something that we have spoken about in the past. If you want to know more about that, make sure and subscribe to the FAC YouTube channel. You'll see all these discussions we've had time and time again, and we have all the links to help you set up that merchant account. So when it comes to choosing the right incubator or accelerator, because Sean mentioned earlier defining the two, you're in this space where, okay, e-commerce is something you want to get into, but maybe, I don't know, the incubator is not familiar with e-commerce space. Is that the type of questions you need to ask yourself, Sean, before joining these programs? Oh, you're on mute. You're on mute there, Sean.
Sorry.
There we go.
Whatever program you decide you want to go to join anywhere in the Caribbean or here in Bermuda, they're normally looking for three things. They're looking for your commitment. They're looking for your mindset. Have you got the right mindset? But also an understanding of how you're going to get from A to B. And very often within e-commerce or within any of these areas, we have typically an oversubscribed application process of between 200% and 300%. So not everybody will get on the program. So if you've got a good idea and you can bring you can show your mindset that you've got a growth mindset, you can solve problems, and you're willing to, as Chris described, it's not a straightforward, easy process. It may take time, and very often we encourage our entrepreneurs and Chris and his team and members from the banks will come in early in the process and talk about how you set these things up, because they do take time. So you have to plan that in. Otherwise, what Chris was describing is a very typical situation. Everybody goes, right, here's my website. Okay, well, how are you going to manage the payment gateway? What's a payment gateway? So it's a bit of horse and cart, and that's what I was talking about earlier in terms of thinking about the model that you want to achieve. What's the vision for how the business is going to work in the future? And then working back and saying, well, okay, as Chris said, if you put in the application and you've got the right definition, you can show them what website you want to access before building the website. Otherwise, you could spend a lot of time and money building something that's not going to work. So we're constantly helping people once they're on the program navigate that space, and we bring in experts from banking, from understanding cybersecurity even, and a whole range of stuff that has to be right to make it work. I'll just tell you a very short story which might help some of the people watching in terms of the flow of money in a business and how important it is to understand the security and the processes. We had an entrepreneur here on Ireland who was very successfully building his business, and his customers were subscribers, and they would typically pay by check or by credit card every month. And he came through the program. We doubled his business in the first 3 months. We were sat down for the review, and we looked at his cash flow statement. He doubled his sales, he doubled his marketing activity, but his cash flow was going down at gross level, and we thought there's something not right here. So we said to him, talk us through how your payment process works. And he said, well, because I was in a rush, I got my accountant to handle all the payments. So all the credit card payments were going into the accountant's account and not into the entrepreneur's account. And then the accountant was netting off their fees and sending the entrepreneur their money. What we discovered through a quick audit was that they were deciding their fees almost randomly as to how much money they thought they could get away with by deducting off it. So I'd encourage you, whatever payment process gateway, send some tests, have somebody who's established, like Chris's business has been around since 1998. It's a regulated business here on Ireland. Make sure that you're dealing with the right people and make sure that your money's going where you want it to go.
Whew, that sounds like a horror story. That was a build-up that required... that was some anxiety there. I was like, whew. Yes, biggest nightmare of any entrepreneur. And, we have to... There's only so many hours in a day. And, trust is something that we need to do due diligence. So thank you so much for sharing that story. Michelle, any comments? Would like to know... I'm into Montego Bay. How do I access the program? I just moved and set up a new bakery option. Would like to know more. So I believe that might be to Sandra.
Oh, yeah. Well, in our first cohort, we had a young woman from Montego Bay, and she's just opened her facility. She used to work for somebody, and she's actually launched full time. So the program is virtual, Michelle, so it's possible for you to participate from your living room. So go to RevUpCaribbean.com and you can learn about how to join the next cohort.
You can also, we'll put it in the comment section, you can sign up for the FAC live newsletter, and we send all the links to the discussions that happened today. So we're going to go on a quick break, and when we get back, we're going to have a conversation around requirements with Anya when it comes to joining Nudge, because micro businesses need as much help as possible. So we'll be right back. Welcome back to First Atlantic Commerce. Here on the FS Live Show, we cover all things e-commerce, and today we're talking about what every entrepreneur should know about Caribbean Incubators. If you join us from LinkedIn, don't forget to like and follow our page to continue seeing content that will help you grow your business online. Today, we have a panel of discussion. We have a panel of guests who are discussing Caribbean Incubators. And as always, I'm joined by Chris, the CEO of First Atlantic Commerce. And we have the privilege of speaking to Sandra, Sean, and Anya. So if you missed the earlier discussion, not to worry. Once this live show has ended, you can check the replay and you can get some very good information, because there's so many trending words around right now. You're like, what do these words mean? So we would have spoken earlier about, looking at the requirements entrepreneurs should be thinking about in terms of these incubators and accelerators. But for the purpose of discussion right now, I want to talk to Anya, because a lot of the times, and I know these people, I talk about this because some of them are my family, where they have a great business idea, they start, and 10 years later, they have no sort of information on their business. They pay for stuff, the bills are there, like, you know, I have to pay tax. How do I pay tax? So when it comes to requirements for these programs, is there something specific a business owner have to be mindful of before applying, Anya?
Well, I think as we've heard today, there's quite a spectrum of these programs. And as Sean alluded to earlier, there's a lot of hybridization now of incubators and accelerators. So I think the requirements do vary widely depending on what type of business you are, what stage of business you are, what type of product or service you're offering, etc. So I can really specifically speak to what we offer at Nudge and how we sort of address the screening process. We are at the moment primarily, as I said, supporting micro and small and medium commodity brands. To date, they have been primarily artisanal. Our primary retail distributor partner is Massey Stores, which most people in the region will know as the largest grocery chain in the Caribbean. So the type of brands that we can support are obviously ones that can go on a shelf. So criteria to be part of the program starts there. But we are quite human-centric in the approach. And so the criteria to become part of the Nudge family, as we describe it, depends heavily as well on your approach to business. Our tagline is mindfully made. We do take very seriously the value alignment of the brands and the entrepreneurs themselves with us as an organization. And when I describe a human-centric approach, we're very committed to a deep listening process within which we assess the needs of the entrepreneurs. We are at 135 approximately entrepreneurs between Trinidad, Barbados, and St. Lucia. And so the ability to be a part of this really does depend on whether or not you have a product. But we are not too strict on how far along you are in the development of your business. That's the work that we do hand in hand with each entrepreneur by building capacity. We've recently launched a platform called Nudge Up, that is online, of course, and gives people access to a variety of education, capacity building programming, including coaching, which we have found to be one of the most effective aspects of our program, really giving that expert advice from high-level experience in our current situation, executives at Massey Stores, and giving people real knowledge as to how to scale their businesses from what you're describing, very early stage businesses, to functional, sustainable, revenue earning companies. And that's the dream that we oftentimes are in a position to support.
That is such great news because a lot of times, you know, you feel alone as an entrepreneur. So to hear that there are over 100 of these micro businesses being assisted by Nudge Caribbean is such a great insight. And I am happy to pull out my credit card and spend my money. When it comes to a business owner, though, like, you know, this question may be for Chris. You tend to, you know, you have this idea of, okay, I'm at a stage in my business now where I want to go to the next level. So I want to get on e-commerce. I want to expand across the Caribbean. Where should that person go in terms of, or maybe there's a question. I don't know if you have a direct answer, but let's say I'm in business for the last 4 years and I'm ready to expand to Barbados and Jamaica and Guyana, and I need to have that e-commerce side of things, but I don't have the skill set to understand e-commerce. Do you then go to an incubator, or do you go and set up that e-commerce and then go to the incubator? Is this a difficult question? Let me know.
Yeah, it's a great question, and I think there are so many of these types of organizations that are coming to fruition now, and there's a good reason for that, because there are a lot of people out there with great ideas and great products and great services that they want to bring to market, but they just, they don't individually perhaps have the skill set to know how to do that. So, we've seen government, incubators and accelerators, we've seen sort of quangos, we've seen private sector ones, and they all bring something a little bit different. And I would encourage people certainly to take advantage of the services. Some of them are free. Some of them are heavily subsidized, and it's not just the, being part of the program, but, as Sandra was saying before, it's the access to the network within those incubators as well. So, the individual cohorts, the mentors, the banking relationships, potential access to funding, all of that is really crucial. And it's not just, I think sometimes people think that these programs are for people that are starting a brand new business. And, I've had more access to Ignite here in Bermuda and Sean's program, and seen, people that have had, successful businesses, but they have become much more successful through going through the program. And it's, just because, you have a business already doesn't mean you can't gain more knowledge from being in programs like this. Again, it's, executives have executive coaches, sports players are coached continuously all day, every day. So there's always something you can learn there. But if you're going to expand outside your jurisdiction, yeah, absolutely, you should be looking at leaning on, companies and individuals that have had that experience and that can help guide you through that, because each country is going to be different. I know we talk about the Caribbean as one country sometime, but every country is completely different. And there's little sort of nuances that you need to understand when you're moving into each jurisdiction. So, for example, with payments, the only way to accept local currency online in each Caribbean country is to be able to be set up in each country as a corporation, and then be able to contract with the local banks. So I had that conversation with somebody on LinkedIn this morning. It's like, I really want to charge in this currency, but settle to US dollars. And unfortunately, the bank networks don't offer that capability. It's either local currency to local currency or US dollar to US dollar. And that's the type of research that you're going to have to do. And if you're using resources like incubators and accelerators, often they will be able to connect you with companies like ours or others that will be able to give you that advice. And that's why we create a lot of this content. What we're doing today, is to really sort of help educate people so they don't make those mistakes that others have made before them, and allow them to expand in a more seamless fashion.
That's such an important point of, the Caribbean being so different, because if anyone who's traveled, Sandra will appreciate this. While I was living in England, a guy, I was getting some vegetables, and the guy, complimented on my accent, and he's like, okay, where are you from? And I said, the Caribbean. He's like, where? I said, Trinidad. And he goes, which part of Jamaica is that? So for a lot of people, the Caribbean is
Sorry,
one.
Pauline.
That's to Jamaica's credit. That is to Jamaica's credit. Branding is on par. And that's something that we as business owners in the Caribbean have to deal with as well, because you are battling the fact that people want to see more people that look like them. So there's, that's why these programs are so important, because you'll understand marketing, understanding how a brand voice is important, in addition to the support and mentorship. So I want to lean on Sean's experience.
Pauline, before you go, I want to just add something, because I think, we are in the business of developing a strong ecosystem for startups. And I want to give a plug for our Development Bank of Jamaica, because I think it's a model that should be used throughout the Caribbean, frankly. The DBJ has many grant programs, but one of the most valuable, I think, is their voucher for technical assistance, which allows a founder, if they have a particular problem, if they want to get their business e-commerce enabled, they can find a vendor, a consultant, a technical person who the DBJ will actually support to help them do that. So I think that, incubators can do so much, but the range of support that businesses need, our development banks really need to be thinking about innovative ways of supporting them. And I really want to call out the DBJ in Jamaica, because they, I think, more than any other institution, have been really at the forefront of supporting accelerators and incubators, supporting training programs, providing innovation grants, and so on. I think it's a really good model that the rest of the Caribbean should adopt.
So Sandra, you're saying that we should all just jump on planes and tap into
No,
the
no, I
CARICOM
think
market and head over to Jamaica? I mean, I'm not
no,
disputing
I'm not
it,
saying
I'm
that.
not disputing it.
I'm just saying the model that the DBJ
Yes.
is using should
Yes.
really be adopted by other development banks throughout the region, because it takes to build a strong ecosystem. It takes all kinds of players. The universities need to get on board. We all need to connect with each other. So I want to thank you for inviting me on this program, because I think the idea of even partnering with each other to provide these services, and some of us are more specialized than others, and it's something I really strongly believe in.
Agreed. I think we as a Caribbean should definitely work together, because that's literally the only way to succeed.
Absolutely.
So I want to step back with the discussion earlier with Chris, because we were talking about, where does one make that decision moving forward for your business and scaling up. So I want to lean on a bit for Sean's experience as to what he's seen in the past. Have you seen people join the incubator and then look at e-commerce, or is it a case of the majority of people that come to you are already in that space? Because I know you mentioned earlier about the fintech and e-commerce. That's literally, as consumers, I see it with the Amazons, across the Caribbean. We're all using it. It's a top 5 visited site in the Caribbean islands. So the consumers are already there. So in terms of what you've seen and what's most popular, where does that decision happen?
That's a really interesting one, because part of the process of any business that comes through an accelerator, we do a lot of work around customer discovery. And this links really strongly to the journey of Amazon. And if you go back to the beginning of Amazon and look at what Jeff and the team were focused on, they were constantly focused on the customer. What does the customer want? And then if you look at what you're trying to do, you're trying to change a series of habits. What habits are we trying to change? Whether you open up a new bakery, you're trying to get people not to buy their bread here and to buy their bread here. So in changing across to a habits-led model and understanding what the customer's habits are, you have to go next layer up and say, well, if these people are my customer, where are they shopping? What do they look like? What's their income? How much do they spend on bread if that's what you're selling? When do they buy it? What time of day? Really dig into the customer discovery route to find out what it is. And then you can ask questions like, well, how do I make that easier? What's the friction that exists that's stopping them from shopping with you, whether it's online or in the real world, or both? And whether a good example of that might be click and collect. Well, I normally buy my bread here, but it would be really easy if I could order my bread, have it ready for me, and go and collect it and pay for it even before I arrive. That would be fantastic. Just make it easier. So if you can make the journey easier through e-commerce, then great, that's your path. Then you need to test it. We use, I know that both my colleagues from this sector online are well aware of the lean startup model and all the work that's been done in that. And we use that as part of the process. So what assumption are you testing? What measurement are you going to make sure it works? So did 10 people come and buy their bread, or have it click and collect? And what's the cheapest way you could test that in the market? And if you go back and look at Groupon, right at the beginning of Groupon knew they had $1 billion business when they got 8 pizzas ordered online when they issued a coupon for a pizza parlor near their offices. So, you don't need 800,000 people buying. You can start really small. And the other thing I would say about e-commerce, and we had a really good example on the program 2 years ago, young lady who was doing lots of coaching and mentoring, helping people escape the world of corporate world and become entrepreneurs. That was her model, was coaching people. When she came in we run coaching and enablement sessions. And the question I asked was, why are you only doing this here in Bermuda? Why aren't you doing this across the Caribbean or across the world? And she went away, she worked with her partners, she worked with Chris and the team. She worked out how to deliver this at a global stage. She went from $7,000 a month to $70,000 in 7 days. That's the sort of transformation when you get it right. That's the sort of numbers you can look at.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a huge benefit in having these discussions in the accelerator and incubator programs, because a lot of times we think singular when there's this whole world that is definitely connected and we have access to. So we're going to go on a quick break. But before we do, I want you guys to think about this question, because I want to get your answers. I want you to be future tellers and looking at Magic 8 Ball, because I want to have one prediction from you when it comes to e-commerce in the Caribbean. We'll be right back. Welcome back to First Atlantic Commerce. Here on the FAC Live Show, we cover all things e-commerce in the Caribbean, and today we're talking about what every entrepreneur should know about Caribbean incubators. So we've covered a lot of information, and I know this may be a lot for you to manage, but that's okay. That's all right. Once we have ended this live show, you can go follow and subscribe on our YouTube channel and continue seeing this content that'll help you grow your online business. So we have a panel of this panelists here. We have Chris, he's the CEO of First Atlantic Commerce. Sandra, she's the founder and managing director of RevUP Caribbean. Sean is the executive director of Ignite Bermuda, and Anya is the co-founder of Nudge Caribbean. I don't think we can hear her. I think she has some audio issues, but we've had a very good discussion around incubators. Thank you so much for Roger signing the comments, letting me know I have great questions. Thank you. I am here representing you, asking very important questions for entrepreneurs, because we need as much help as possible. Someone also mentioned credit unions definitely need to get involved. I believe this is in reference to what Sandra was saying, coming together, as well as Patrick. UTech has an incubator on its campus. It's something you really should do across the Caribbean. So thank you so much, everyone. Sandra,
and by the way, Pauline, I built that incubator at UTech, the Technology Innovation Center. That was my brainchild.
Amazing.
So I agree. Every university should have.
That's the sound of 3 hands clapping, guys. Thank you. Thanks for letting us know, Sandra. Okay, so we're going into the predictions of the future of the e-commerce in the Caribbean. So we will start with Chris and we'll end with Sandra.
Okay, sure. So my prediction is really that we're going to hear less excuses of why we can't do this. With companies like the representatives we have today, there is going to be much less of an excuse to really be able to push those businesses forward. So in the past we've heard, well, we don't have PayPal, we don't have Apple Pay, we don't have Stripe or something along those lines. And I think it's very clear and obvious, certainly to me, and through the thousands of merchants that we deal with and online businesses, that this is very, very doable within the region, and we have all the resources and all the talent to make it happen.
Thank you so much for that, Sean.
I'm preparing for a non-conference that we're holding here on Ireland. We're bringing together our first 5 cohorts. So we've got a community of nearly 300 members. And I was thinking about one word I could share with them, which actually is really appropriate to this and the future of e-commerce across the Caribbean and Bermuda. And I'll let you all in on a secret. The word is yet. It's the most powerful tool in our toolbox in terms of mindset and how we think as entrepreneurs yet. So I really encourage everybody who's struggling with a challenge in their business, whether it's moving online or setting up websites. It's not possible, or I can't do that yet, because it forces you into planning and thinking about how could I and when can I and who do I need to talk to, and reach out through your connections through this group and beyond. Use LinkedIn, talk to Chris and his team, Pauline. All of us are here to help you. So reach out and use that community to answer the problem. What about yet?
Wow, that's a powerful three letter word. Thank you so much, Anya.
I love that, Sean. I think that's something I'm going to keep in my back pocket. I think, again, through the lens of commodity brands, I do see a trend towards the blending of content creation and e-commerce. I think that the opportunities are going to continue to increase for particularly, again, brands that have products and perhaps also services to be selling their product through social media. I do think accessibility issues will continue to be something, and that word yet is helpful, that there will be a time soon enough that brands could merge their social media strategies with their e-commerce strategies. I think that that's an obvious next step that is already happening. And in my own world as an entrepreneur myself, I'm a major Web3 enthusiast. I have a fashion brand that is in the Web3 space. And so I do think that movement in that direction is a further yet, potentially. But when we're talking about the future of e-commerce, I do think that that blockchain-powered e-commerce is going to be something really, really powerful for this region eventually.
Thanks for that, Anya. And we'll close off with Sandra.
Yeah, so, in Jamaica, mobile penetration is very high. I think it's probably, if it's not 100% in the adult population, it's almost there. So we are, adopters, technology adopters in this country. And I just have to, excuse me for making plugging this connection, because you know that I'm on the board of the National Commercial Bank and the NCBFG, and NCB has launched an app called Link, which really promises to revolutionize the payment space especially for small and micro businesses. To provide them with a platform to engage in business and receive payments online. So I think for us in Jamaica, the landscape is changing rapidly, and we're going to see in a few years, really everybody using this, using their smartphones to receive payments and to make payments.
Thank you so much for that, Sandra. I think every single point everyone has shared was very impactful. And I believe in the comments, there's definite agreement to that. Love that word yet. And for Patrick, can single individuals go to FAC directly? We will put a link for you to join the FAC live newsletter, and we'll definitely respond to that. But for sure, we are short on time. Thank you so much to everyone, Sandra, Sean, Anya, and Chris, for joining us today as we discuss what every entrepreneur should know about Caribbean incubators. Be sure to follow our page. We are on LinkedIn and YouTube to be notified for our next FAC Live Show panel discussion. See you soon. Bye.